Greetings from Citizen Health and the Team Academy IAPSME Connect. And today, in the series of People's Health It Matters, we have Dr. Srikanth, who is a scientist and Nodal Communication Officer, ICMR Vector Control Research Center, Puducherry. A very warm welcome to you, sir, on behalf of all the audience.
Good afternoon, Ritu, and hello, everyone.
So today we will talk about mosquito-borne diseases. So let's start with my session first, with my first question. That sir, what are the mosquito-borne diseases?
So, Ritu, we have a variety of diseases that are transmitted by mosquitoes in India. As you know, there are over 400 species of mosquitoes in India, but very few of them actually transmit diseases. The others are called nuisance mosquitoes. So we have a set of Aedes mosquitoes which cause viral diseases like dengue, chikungunya, Zika, right? We also have Anopheles mosquitoes, which are mainly responsible for spread of malaria, and we have some Culex mosquitoes, which are usually implicated in spreading lymphatic filariasis, that is elephantiasis and Japanese encephalitis virus. So these are some of the most common vector-borne diseases or mosquito-borne diseases I can say in India.
So can we identify these mosquito by just viewing them?
Most probably, it is not all of them can be identified that simply, but the mosquito that is responsible for spread of dengue, chikungunya, and Zika, this mosquito is very easy to identify at homes because it's almost like a black mosquito which has white bands on it, so it looks like black and white spots on the mosquito. So it's also called as a tiger mosquito, which is Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus are the two mosquito species that transmit this disease.
Okay, so if we want to identify the disease, can you please tell us some symptoms of each disease so that we can identify?
Yeah. So most of the mosquito-borne diseases have very typical symptoms, especially if you take diseases like dengue and chikungunya. They're spread by viruses. So they have very typical symptoms of viral fever. One is they start off with fever. There could be rashes on the body. They're associated with a lot of joint pains and headaches. And also, certain times in dengue, especially, the area behind the eyes, there is a lot of pain, right? So we call that as retroorbital pain. So there will be a lot of pain in moving the eyes and looking at screens for a long time and such. They'll feel very tired. And there will be a lot of tiredness is associated with these diseases. Another thing is being viral diseases, you need to, there is also a lot of dehydration that occurs along with them. So that is something that we need to keep in mind when we're thinking about viral fevers. So these are some symptoms to look out for in case you are getting any of these symptoms just following a rainy season or such. Then that means that it could be a mosquito transmitted infection like dengue or chikungunya.
Okay, so let me tell everyone that if you found any of the symptoms, please consult doctors as soon as possible. And so can you please tell us that how can we prevent this?
Yeah. So the idea is that the mosquitoes that cause these infections, right? Usually it is only the female mosquitoes that bite human beings. And they bite us to take a blood meal. Okay, but this blood is not for their sustenance. That is, these mosquitoes in their entire life, they feed on plant nectar and other matter, but only after they have mated and when they want to when they want to lay eggs, right? They require some proteins and iron, which is not easily available to them from the plant sources. So what they do is they bite human beings or other animals, whichever is accessible to them, and they take blood meal. So based on what is their preferred diet, we say anthropophilic, that is which like human beings more, or zoophilic, which like biting animals more. So Aedes mosquito that causes dengue, chikungunya. These are anthropophilic mosquitoes. That is, they bite human beings more, and they are day biters. That is, they specifically are active during the daytime, just before noon and just after noon. That is, towards the evening time, they're very active. And this mosquito is a very nervous feeder. That is, even with small movements or with a gust of wind or something moving around, they get very nervous and they fly away. So, which is a very dangerous thing because this mosquito requires a full belly of blood for it to lay eggs, right? In one sitting, it lays about 100 to 300 eggs anywhere between. So, for that, it requires some amount of blood. So, if it's very nervous when it bites you, it will take some blood and then it flies off and then it bites someone else. So usually what happens is diseases like dengue and chikungunya, they occur in clusters, in families, right? Because at home, if it is biting one person and then it just bites another person who's around there. Usually we find that women are at a higher risk for this because they're usually at home during this time, and especially children, they don't wear protective clothing as much, so there is a lot of risk for this for by getting bitten by the dengue mosquitoes. So coming to some prevention tips that can be followed, right? So one thing that you need to understand is the life cycle of a mosquito. So a mosquito takes blood, and then it lays eggs. It lays eggs on water, right? And then these eggs hatch within 3 days to 1 week. They hatch, and after they hatch, their larvae, they will be dancing. You would see them in your common water sources, like dancing larvae will be seen, and then they grow 4 stages. Then they become a pupa, and from there, within a week, another adult mosquito will emerge, right? And then it'll mate, and then the whole cycle continues. So this mosquito is very vulnerable when it is in the water, right? Because it requires water for its survival. It feeds on these tiny microorganisms and other things that are there in the water. And so this is when it is very vulnerable, and this is when we can destroy it, or we'll be able to control it the best. So, especially with Aedes, the mosquito, as I said, prefers human beings. So, it is around us, right? So, in and around our houses, it prefers fresh water sources, which are comparatively clean, and artificially collected sources. So, some of the most common things that we see, especially in India, are we have a lot of coconut shells outside the house, and many people like putting eggshells for plants, but they don't crush the eggshells. They just put the broken eggshell just like that on their potted plants, and then they water it. So there's water stagnating there. And we have paper cups, we have paper plates that are thrown around, and we have a lot of plastic waste that is thrown in and around the house. And as soon as it rains, there is some amount of water that gets collected here, and the mosquito will find this a very attractive place to lay eggs, and then they'll grow here. So these are some places in and around the house that you can look for. Some people also keep a plate under the flower pots. So when they water the flower, when they water and the water overflows, they feel that it gets collected in that pot and it doesn't spoil the wall or other thing. But this water is also there. Ideally, as I said, it takes about 1 week for the egg to be laid, and then 3 days for it to hatch, and then about 5 days for it to become a pupa, and then another 2 or 3 days for it to become an adult. So 1 week is a time. So once a week, if you just go around the house and clean the house, especially wherever these artificially collected water sources are there, then that would be a good start. Some people also have the habit of keeping decorative pots or release with flowers in them, or they put these small beads in them and keep, and then it doesn't get cleaned that often. So if you look into that, or in the cooler or the water behind your fridge where it gets collected, if you look into that, you will see a lot of mosquitoes growing there. Right. So these are some places in and around the house that can be cleaned.
Thank you, sir. We missed sometimes these minute details which you have given. Can you please conclude this session with take home message?
Yeah, I will. So before that, there are a few other things to keep in mind. One is all that I said just now, that will be helpful for preventing the growth of mosquitoes, right? But then you'll also need to prevent yourself from getting bitten by mosquitoes. So the best thing to do would be to wear full sleeve clothing, and then wearing full length pants. Even for small children, it's better to keep them in protective clothing, that is full sleeve shirts and full length pants, even when they're at home, so that they don't get bitten often. Another thing is using mosquito repellents. And at home, we also use this, all out or other spray sprays like Mortein bug spray. That is also great, right? Along with this, this is what we already do. But along with this, go around your house, find out where the mosquitoes are breeding, and ensure that all these breeding sites are cleaned up so that the mosquitoes don't grow and they don't bite. So don't allow them to grow, don't allow them to bite, and that would be more than sufficient. And if you have any symptoms, please consult a doctor. Don't simply go to a medical store, take a paracetamol, and then the fever will go down, yes. But if you go to a doctor, we will check whether what your platelet levels are and other things, and can be ready to give you supportive care. Not everybody with dengue needs to be admitted in a hospital. Not everybody requires an ICU care or an intensive care for that matter. It can be managed at home, but it is better for a doctor to be there in your treatment from the very beginning so that they can look at you, they can guide you, and then be ready in case if your condition is deteriorating a little bit.
Okay, sir. One last question from before your conclusion. That is, there a specific time for these mosquitoes, or any time in the whole day?
That's what I said. They, especially Aedes mosquito, that is tiger mosquito, they prefer biting in the day. So early in the morning, from 6 to say 9 or 10, after that it becomes a little hot for them. So they just go out and take some shelter wherever it is cool. And then in the evening times, post 4 o'clock or so, when again it is a little cooler for them, so then they come back and they bite human beings. So if you're sending your children to school and such, it will be very common for these mosquitoes to breed in and around schools. So ensure that they wear their socks and pants, completely cover their leg, so that the mosquitoes don't bite. Another thing with this mosquito is it doesn't fly up very high, especially when it's biting. So usually bites will be seen on the legs, right? So cover this and it should be good.
Okay, so can you please advise us our take-home message?
So the take-home message is basically control, prevent. So control the mosquitoes, prevent the bite of mosquitoes, because a small bite is a big threat. And so please take care, especially this rainy season.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such a beautiful session with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.